When did man's connection with one's home, one's resource, one's life force become so forgotten? The elements in nature that blend together so perfectly to create tiny miracles. The miracle of life and death, the vibrant colors of the seasons, harvesting and giving back to the land, replenishing the soil and the earth for another trip around the sun. The pursuit of truth in its purest form hides in the deepest corners of the earth, where the currents recollect and re-energize. We dive deep, side by side, to the core where all life is given. Put your hand in the flame. Feel the light within, a universe inside you. Brighten the sky. Heal the earth with your gentle touch.
I think sustainability, if I need to put it in an agricultural sense or just just the general sense, is that we need to make sure that we leave this world, we keep the world that we live in a stable and prosperous setting without using all of our resources up such that we can't replace them. And whatever we can do, whatever I can do to maintain the status quo of the natural resources that we have in the city, I want to try to do that. Houstonians, at least in our city, have not been exposed to organic food until fairly recently, probably in the last 20, 25 years at the most. Much of our organic food that we see here, even in the state of Texas, comes from Mexico and California. So one of my big ideas, or at least one of the hopes that I have, is that we have people in the urban and in the peri-urban, just on the outside of the city, learning how to grow organically and supplying the food that we eat here in the city of Houston, and not having to buy it from places outside of the city and the state.
Fluidity and flexibility. Those are our words, fluidity and flexibility. If it didn't grow, plant it again. If the birds ate it, okay, plant it again. Sustainability means be able to maintain the threshold, to maintain a threshold. The problem is it doesn't necessarily mean it's a good threshold, but can we sustain a living? Can we maintain a living? Is our environment, as we're using, is it sustainable? As we said, do we not take away so that our future generations can't use it? But can we almost hold it steady? But I believe there's a misnomer to that, because nature wears away even without man's involvement. And so even without man's involvement, things will grow old, things will die. We see that with the vegetables. If we don't touch them, over time their lifespan has come to an end. We have evidence that things change naturally in the tectonic plates. Things change, but I think we have contributed. Definitely mankind has contributed to things that we put off in the atmosphere. When you see the smog and the smoke from plants, industrial plants just going up into the smoke, you can't believe that does not change. That's not infecting something. And so I would say it was us. It's a collective us, not just in developed countries. Other countries are impacting it in their own way, and they're doing it for different reasons. They're utilizing resources out of necessity. Burning the wood on trees or the coal out of necessity. It still alters what's going on. So we're all impacting it.
Well, I define climate change, and I see it firsthand here. And just in a real simple version of climate change, I've seen the temperatures change. And as a farmer, the temperatures have a lot to do with when you plant and when you harvest, how you tend to your crops. I am a believer that human practices have a lot to do with the reason that we're seeing a global climate change. And I honestly believe that we can make a difference if we all do our own part.
If we come up with a solution, we have to look at the long-range impact of that solution, because it could be worse. So I think we just have to take it, a little by little. Just think through every step that I do. How can I make this better for the environment, or for my children, or how can I be more sustainable? Everyone doesn't think that way.
Not just farmers, but anybody can try to look at, any kind of emissions they have, whether it's their car or their dryer coming out of their house or whatever. That's things people have to internally, inspect around their own place. I mean, we've done it. We try to work through it, like making sure that we have, newer tractors with emission controls. And I think it's up to each and every one of us, to just examine our lives and where things that affect climate, the ozone type stuff, we just got to look internally and make sure that we're doing the best we can on that. One example is when my dad and I farmed, we had 3 tractors with 3 discs, and in a day we couldn't hardly do 200 acres. And now I can take 1 tractor and a disc and by myself disc 240 acres in a day with a tractor that's putting out less emissions and doing a better job, quicker job.
The rhythm and flow of your magnetic field orbits around us like we do the sun and the moon to us. Partake in the wealth we share. You tell me it makes a difference, and I agree. When we decide, then it becomes. This is where we belong. We are always growing, learning more. No specific thought, but one way. Our potential energy and kinetic work is like hot sand, warm skin, and sunny weather. These organic elements and the geometric properties that make us describe our symmetry with nature. We must resolve these vibrations that clash and don't live in harmony with the earth.
How do the folks in Houston, can they live more sustainable lives? Well, the obvious self-serving answer is to buy local, and support your local farmers. That's probably the main thing. The other thing too is that people don't think about is they can grow gardens at home to provide some of their, minor food needs, like maybe tomatoes or things like that.
I think if we can make it fun and accessible, then we will find more of Houston doing it. But we're going to have to do more of this, because this is we couldn't feed the third ward here. But if we have more of these throughout the community, then I think that would help.
But I think the big challenge that we've got is dealing with land use. And until we have a way to make opportunities available to grow, to access land in a large enough quantity, enough parcels of land for this, then I don't know how much urban farming we're really going to see.
Some of our government programs actually have been, conducive to landowners not wanting it farmed, because they could, gain from not having it farmed and didn't have to have anybody on their property. That's what they did in, I think it was 95 Farm Bill. They said, you don't have to farm, we're still going to give you a payment for that land. Well, it wasn't tied to the farmer, it was tied to the land. So the landowners kicked the farmer off, took the payment, that land went out of production. That doesn't help sustainability, taking good land out of production. I don't like that. I think, that land has been there. It needs to be farmed, it needs to continue to be farmed, and we need to be able to carry that into the future.
Fortunately, in the city right now, we don't have any kind of a code that says you can't grow edible crops in the city of Houston. Where we run into problems is not so much with the health department or the city, it's with deed restrictions, especially in some of these suburban areas where they have homeowners association rules where you can't do certain things. So I'd like to see some of those homeowners associations relax a little bit. The idea of putting an edible crop in your front yard is a no-no. You know, you have to have grass, which is a real crazy thing to be growing because it doesn't do anything for the environment, really.
We started with an empty field. I remember we brought our friends from Houston and we're like, look at our farm. And they were like, Stacy, it's grass. But I'm really proud today to sit here and say that we started with just grass and now look at where we've come. So I come from a small town in South Louisiana that we eat with the seasons, you know, like Easter's always crawfish and summertime is crab boils and, you know, we have chicken and andouille gumbo for Christmas. Like, you know what part of the year you're in based on what people put on the table. And I wanted to give that to my kids too. So our holistic goal is to produce a clean, delicious, healthy product to give back to the people that, my family and the people that work here, to take care of my animals well and to give to our community. We work here and the goats take from this land, but we hope that we're giving back just as much, right? My goal is to leave this place as good or better than I found it.
Currents and tides are unforgiving, relentless but beautiful. They do not favor anyone or anything, but abide by one law: no law. Harness the energy, ride with it, and stay above water. What are we sacrificing by neglecting the land, the air, the water, and the flames? Do we consider the consequences, or do we trust the process? Glide through where oblivion and infinity coexist, that everlasting chaos. A gateway into another sphere of existing and understanding the change in trend and possibility.
You know, it's a real challenge in the city of Houston to find the interest of young people, particularly who would like to become farmers. And growers, maybe want to use that's a term that we could use too. Our involvement in the schools is really, really critical, where we're exposing young people to the merits of growing edible crops. And it's not just about learning how to eat and grow edible crops. It's math, it's science, it's ecology, it's climate. It's all of the things that go on. It's nature. It's taking care of the world. It's taking care of other human beings. And these are the messages and the language that we talk about in schools. And it's really important.
When you see, even, you know, not just the children, but when you see an adult out here, this guy this morning, he harvested his first ear of corn. And he's just standing there and I'm taking pictures and I'm sending it out and he's holding it, he's gonna take it in and show his wife and his children. I'm like, are you gonna eat it?
In 2017, we had Hurricane Harvey. I did not harvest a grain of rice that year. I had about 800 acres that was about this tall, headed out, ready to harvest, and it went underwater. I lost all of that. Then Imelda hit, and I didn't get to harvest it either.
Sometimes we lose everything. I mean, really, what can one do when nature is just a natural thing? Yeah, it's a natural thing, so there was nothing we could do but to begin all over again.
We lost our market for quite a while. But the goats, they don't care about the hurricane. Like, they made milk every day, right? So regardless if I have power or not, I gotta milk.
Mother Nature wins all the time. She wins hands down every battle, every excursion, every face-to-face, Mother Nature wins.
what good is a job if I'm too unhealthy to get there or be there, or have an adequate housing situation and I'm going to the doctor all the time?
I want people to realize there really is a big difference between food that's nutrient rich and dense, that's grown organically, and that which is not. I mean, our society has become one of convenience. And the easier it is to get something done is to pay for it, to buy it, not do it yourself. And processed food, and typically the fast food restaurants are where we're feeding ourselves and our children.
So to me, the foundation of revitalizing this community has to start with health. We have a plan, just a thought, just a conversation going on. If people go to one of the health outlets, that doctor would write out not only a prescription for medication, but they'd write out a prescription of things to eat. So they bring in a prescription to a garden to be filled. Isn't that a novel idea? The doctor says you need to eat some okra. Go to Blodgett Urban Gardens, they can fill this for you. You know, it all plays in if you get people thinking healthy, then they become healthy.
What I would like to see is the population start to understand that eating that type of food is making us sick. And I would also like to believe that this coronavirus epidemic that we have right now, a pandemic, has brought to light the severe issues of people that have some of the food-related illnesses and their abilities to survive this disease, this virus, if they get it.
There's too many fast food places around. You know, that stuff is not good. You know, it tastes good, but it's not good for you. I passed by Turkey Leg Hut, and there's a line, and everybody's obese, standing in the Turkey Leg Hut line, you know? Or I go by the Breakfast Club. 5 out of 10 people are obese. You know, why are you going there eating that stuff? You know, it's good, it's very good. I'm hungry now thinking about it, but it's not something you want to do every day. We have to give people a choice to make. But you can't tell a person that doesn't have access to make that choice.
Young farmers, I would say find mentors, get educated, join the groups, reach out to people. Don't be afraid to ask for help.
Volunteer first and don't try to do it by yourself. Tie into a group, and there's a lot of groups out there that offer free advice, will come out to your house, make it a social gathering. Well, I guess you can't do that right now, but when you can, make it a social gathering, because then you can work together.
If you want to start being a sustainable farmer, do some education. And the real learning process is about how to manage the soil, because that is the number. I spend more time learning about how to create healthy soil than I do about, am I going to grow this variety of broccoli versus that variety of broccoli? I don't spend that much time doing that. I do some of it, but mainly it's the soil, because if it's good soil, whatever plant you put in the ground is going to do just fine.
We are all the same. We are just the same. Just everything about us is the same thing as them. That we are all the same. There is no difference between humans and animals and plants. We are all just the same. Everything in plants are within us. Yeah. It's just a matter of, I think, growth.
Keep trying to improve your efficiency, and just hope somebody's coming along, that'll take over for you, and that you leave them a farm in good sustainable condition already, and teach them the techniques and methods for maintaining it and doing it, and just hope everything will keep moving forward.
After all said and done, this is the most meaningful time of my life, is being able to do the garden, work in the community, advocate for what the community needs, be at the table when the powers that be make decisions at the city, the county level, and even at the local level with the tiers and the management district about what happens here in this neighborhood, what happens along this street. It puts me in a unique position to able to do what I do.
We share the air, the space between us, light and breathable. Sweet mist and gentle drops from the branches above fall on my skin, refreshed and replenished. Fill me up with light and energy, the purest form. Hydrate the mind and sit in the sun like we do, so we can grow too. Flourishing with zest and organic flesh, I wish to wander about and get lost in the crevices of your horizon. Forever interlooped in this vortex of unknown substance which courses through our roots, we thrive, living off of the same desire for change. Something new, fresh, homegrown or homemade, from your core to theirs. You are resilient, flexible as you reach up above yourself, and as we revolve around once more, this time more aware of our influence and evolution. We move with the current, searching for our paradise in these Scion waters.
I think it's going to be hard over time to change the appetite of Americans.
It has to be fun, not a trend, but enjoyable, because there's a lot of work. I mean, you guys have been sitting there, we've been all hitting our leg, meaning, but you have to do this.
Actually, I almost had my leg cut off in a rice cart, and but it was all good. We had a lot of fun.
It's in our county, it's getting worse and worse every year because of the March of Houston.
That is an area I haven't really. Climate change, not really.
Kirk Jackson, yeah, Kirk is my name. I don't have a nickname anymore. The older you lose nicknames when you get to be old.